Carl, it's with great pleasure that we welcome in our first guest on our first ever Bleav in Giants podcast. Remember back in the day when you played for the Giants and there was that electronics store, Nobody Beats the Wiz?
Yep.
Nobody beats the Biz.
This is true. The Biz.
Quite an introduction there.
Chris Bisignano, who does a great job talking about the Giants, covering the Giants with the Giants Insider newspaper, joins us here on the program. And Chris, welcome to the debut of the show. I know you've always wanted to chop it up with us on air, so now's your opportunity. How you feeling about this team this year?
Well, first off, guys, it's an honor, I guess, no question, to be on the debut show here. And getting to our team, how do I feel about the Giants? Well, Bob, Carl, I feel a lot of good things, but I don't think there's any question. The biggest concern is what, right? Heading into next Sunday, the offensive line. I mean, that's what it's all about, fellas. That's the biggest concern. We don't know. It was a question mark going into camp. It's a question mark in September. It's a question mark going into week 1. And we're going to see where we're at in 7 days.
You know what, Chris? I have a different major concern because when I looked around the league, there are not many people that got their offensive line straight yet. There are a lot of offensive line issues around the league. So my guess is that they'll do what they have to do. And, obviously, if you get Saquon Barkley back in the mix, that makes everything better. Mm-hmm. But my biggest concern coming out of camp, and I'm not going to say it's a major concern, but it's a big concern, is the decision-making of the quarterback. Mm-hmm. We know all the good things he can do. But a quarterback is pretty much, when you talk to any coordinator, when they're looking at quarterbacks or who fits what system, the number one thing they say is, can he make good decisions with the football? Now, for a large part, Daniel Jones has been responsible in that area, but he has some head scratchers that come at the wrong time. And I think that's the area that concerns me, his decision-making, or, being in sync with what the offense is supposed to do at particular times. So, I pointed out to Bob, or we discussed it during their last game, there was an in cut. I think they had
Booker, I think it was.
Yeah, Booker in the slide, he comes across, there's a window there. Now, he gets sacked on the play, waiting for something else. Mm-hmm. But play design and protection normally goes hand in hand, mm-hmm. which means if that play is designed to get the ball out of your hands, you don't have to worry about taking the sack. So I don't know if they say, well, that sack's on you, Daniel, because here's a guy wide open, you just hit him, he's there. So it's just a matter of him making the right decisions or good decisions at the right time. And there's been a few of those. That's a sack that he could have avoided and the chains would have been moving. Right. And then down in the end zone, rolling out, trying to throw that one. It's just, you cannot be in any mindset that says, I need to take points off the board. It's feast or famine. No, you got 3 points already. You got to be able to just, throw it away.
So let me take you guys to another frame or window on this overall picture. You talked about decision making, Carl, and you had picked up on that during the telecast. There's Booker crumbing across. There's the window. Get it out. Take your gain right there, and let's keep moving. But does this go back to the point of, I got all the good work that they got in the joint practices, but did he need to play in more game action in this preseason to see things like that, in real situations?
Well, because he's getting, the 10 plays he got or 15 plays that he got, I don't think that makes a difference. I just think that's more of a situational awareness and being in the moment slash being in sync with your offense. You get that rhythm of your offense in practice and obviously against competition. But if you can practice it against a lot of different looks, it's great. But the bottom line, Bob, if you chunk a pitching wedge or a sand wedge
Often.
and you said, oh, I dropped my head, right? But if you go through everything that you've practiced and you hit it cleanly, you know what you're supposed to do. So it's just a matter of situational awareness. Like, okay, here's the play. I got a guy, if this window opens, I'm getting rid of this football. I don't have to go anywhere else. And when you think about the weapons they put around him, guy like Tony, or how about this? I'll make it even simpler. I didn't say a whole lot. Think about Eli Manning to Odell Beckham, crossing route, get the ball out of your hands and let him do the rest of the work, right? Mm-hmm. Eli was keenly aware that his offensive line was good. There's only a certain amount of times during the game you're going to be able to comfortably take a shot. But in the meantime, here are some plays right here that you can take, put in the hands of a guy who can just really get something done with you. He has to understand that those are weapons that they put around him to do the work. He doesn't have to do all the work. Did that make sense? That was a long way, but did that make sense?
No, I got it. Biz, is that your famed Bic pen?
Yes, it is, sir. See how much I think of you two guys? Look, I even broke this out.
Biz with the Bic.
Biz with the Bic when he does his breakdowns.
And you know what, Bob and Carl? This is what I've seen all camp. I mean, I've put it on, and I'm at, all the training camp practices, and I put it out there numerous times, up and down, up and down. A good 11-11 team series, then he'll make a dumb decision with the ball. We saw it against the Patriots the other night. Now, Carl, what I have to ask you, this is year 3. How concerning is this? When you look at Daniel and you see now in year 3, he rolls to his right.
Let's call it year 2. Mm-hmm. Even though it's year 3, let's call it year 2 in this offense.
Okay. How concerning is it, Carl, that he continues, and Bob, obviously, that he continues to make some of these decisions? Is it a huge concern? And I saw it numerous times in training camp practices where he'll make 3 excellent decisions. He'll throw a ball in a tight window, and then all of a sudden he'll make a kind of throw where you look at it and you go, hey, Daniel, what the hell was that? How concerning is that for you guys?
For me, it would be less concerning if he didn't have the ability to make those wow plays. If he was just a guy that, had to manage the game and didn't have a lot of talent, you'd be very concerned because he put you in the hole. He has the ability to get you ahead and to make mistakes and put you in the hole, but he can get you out. I just think it's a matter of repetition at the quarterback position. He's had a lot, but it's, again, for me, it's situational awareness. I think he's smart enough to comprehend that.
Hey, listen, I'll go back a little bit in time. It's not like Eli, especially early in his career, made every right decision.
Oh, no.
I mean, year 3 was 2006. They got in the playoffs in 2005, and they made the playoffs in 2006. But it's not as if, Eli was coming at every game with a QBR of 110 and finishing games with a completion percentage of 68%. I mean, but eventually he got to where you needed him to get to. I think this is just a huge year for the guy. I mean, this is where we're going to find out, what you have moving forward on this player. If Golladay is relatively healthy, which it looks like he's coming around, and Saquon looks like, if he could stay healthy, and obviously Ingram's banged up. I don't even count Tony at this point.
Right.
I'm not even counting Tony.
What about John Ross?
Yeah, I'm not even counting him. But if they could get some of these guys back, I And then you got Sterling Shepard, and I think Slayton as with Golladay there, and if Galladay's healthy, I think it just opens things up for Slayton, who we know can make some big plays. We're going to find out about Daniel Jones. We're going to get a clear picture. We got 17 games to get a clear picture on him. So I'm looking at the upside, and I'm looking at the positive side. I know there's a lot of people that are already ready to throw him under the bus, but just go back to Eli early in his career.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't perfect by any stretch.
Far from it. Far from it. Yeah, I'm not down on Daniel Jones, the quarterback, and his ability. All I'm pointing out are the things that are going to make him the quarterback that they need him to be, and to really step into his abilities. Again, it's just, understanding what the offense calls for. It's like you're not only a quarterback, but you're a point guard. You got to know where people are to get the ball to them where they are, not necessarily on the deep passes, but you just got to know the timing. You got to know the timing of a play. And, this is the second year in it. I'm not sure what the tweaks are in the offense, but I'm sure they tweak it on a daily basis based on how they feel about the offensive line. And he's just got to be in tune with that. He's got to spend time not just looking at routes, but looking at the timing of plays.
Remember, and just to finish up this point on 06, the Giants won the division that year at 8-8. Okay. Remember, they beat Washington last game of the season. They won the division at 8-8. Eli for that season was 57% for the year, 57.7, 3,200 yards, 24 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, with a quarterback rating of 77 that year. That was year 3. So I think you got to put it into context a little bit. So we started about the O-line. Biz, they going to make any more trades this week and bring in anybody else?
No, I think we're done with that. I think they feel pretty good now with the 2 trades and the 1 pickups. But look, how do you take it? Well, the depth was horrific. Gedlin goes out and gets a couple more bodies. Okay. And you know what, Bob? Even Sunday, are we, is Matt Peart the starting right tackle Sunday? We're going to see this week in practice, right? Andrew Thomas struggles last week. I'm not too, am I that concerned about Andrew Thomas? Should you be a little bit? Yeah, a little bit, but I think the kid will be fine over there left tackle. But what are we talking about with this offensive line?
I'm betting Solder's starting week 1.
Well, that's Bob. That's what I was getting at.
Right.
That's what I was getting at, that, Bob. Yeah. What call?
No, I was asking Bob, is it right tackle or left tackle for Solder?
No, I think he'd be. I listen. I think Andrew Thomas picked the worst spot to have a bad day.
Yeah, because
it's not like. Yeah, I mean, the only game in which the starters were going to get all those reps, and he didn't play well. He faced the music. He was up at the podium after the game. He didn't blame anybody. He showed a lot of maturity. Look, he had a pretty good grade last year, and fans will forever be polarized. And then, of course, you got all the Monday morning quarterbacks saying, I had him as the 5th-ranked tackle the year he came out. What were the Giants thinking? Forget about that. That's nonsense because it doesn't mean anything. He's on the Giants.
Right.
That's water under the bridge. But I got to think with the Broncos and with their front, I have to think that, and plus Hernandez still is not great at picking up things, reading the
twist,
the twist. I mean, the basics. I think you got to have a guy like Solder in there, Carl and Chris, in week 1 just to be stable. Who at least he's going to see stuff.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Carl.
Go ahead, Biz.
No, that's what I was getting at before.
No, the Andrew Thomas situation. You say he went to the podium, he accepted. At least he knew what he was doing wrong. Correct. He overcorrected. So when you have a guy who's not lost at the position, who just stands there and say, "I got to get better," he told you. He says, "Listen, I worked on some things this offseason, and he and his coach both said he overset or underset against the Patriots, so he can find a happy medium. I think he'll be okay there.
Yeah, I agree. And only one of those sacks, by the way, this is coming from Judge's mouth. One of those sacks was his fault. The first one, the second one, I Bleav it was Ted Lawson over left guard, didn't get over. Okay, that's from Judge's mouth. Okay, telling somebody who told
Speaking
me.
of left guard, who's playing left guard?
Well, I Bleav it's going to be Shane, Pop, for sure. As long as that knee's holding up, I think it will be Shane Sunday afternoon. And getting back to it, I agree with both of you, man. I mean, depending on practice this week, I see Solder at right tackle. I do not see Pert coming out against Vic Fangio's aggressive D. And that's one of the reasons why. And you guys just said it, you hit it right on the head. Will Hernandez, and you see it on tape, right, Carl Bob? He struggles identifying twists. There's no question about it. It's right there on the tape.
Yeah, it was a lot of that in the practice versus the Cleveland Browns. You could see some of the struggles there, and a lot of it has to do with alignment. Again, but Hernandez is in his fourth year now.
Yeah,
fourth year. Yeah,
contract year. Yeah,
his trouble started in Dallas his rookie year, and they've been giving him twists ever since. When they put him out in Dallas and they were running those in-tackle twists, he struggled then, and he has not really quite figured it out. And this is a function of also knowing alignments. When you look at alignments, and that's something that, Nate Solder can help with. There's a certain alignment you got to have to run a twist, or else your guys are going to run into each other. So, just be alert for something, and then it becomes footwork. He's got to continue to work on it. But again, if you can run the football,
yeah, exactly,
it takes a lot of that stuff away from a defense. But if you have nothing on offense in the run game, then you're going to face the music. It doesn't matter who your offensive line is.
All right, so let me throw this topic out at you. Speaking of running, so Saquon, he's done a lot of things that have everybody encouraged. Carl, you and I have talked about this a little bit. I want to get both of your takes on it for the Bleav in Giants podcast. As I've said to people, week 2 isn't the following Sunday. Week 2 is Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a short week. So you got Rudolph coming off an injury. By the way, I saw him gassing up in Hoboken this morning on his way to go visit some family. You've got Golladay making progress. So here's the $1 million question. Are they getting these guys ready for week 1 or week 1.5? Because realistically, if you're looking at it objectively, the NFC West is loaded, right? The worst team in that division is Arizona. Barring injury, if the Niners stay healthy, they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. The Rams now have Stafford. They got Aaron Donald. They got a good defense. The Seahawks have Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, so they're always going to get something done. I think the South is going to be pretty good with the Saints and obviously the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers. I think the Falcons will be better, and Carolina's going to be good.
Carolina's going to be better, yeah.
And then you got the North, where you got the Vikings. We know the Packers are the cream of the crop. So if you're looking at this realistically, this is a long-ass preamble, but most likely the only way you're getting to the playoffs is winning the NFC East.
Yeah.
There's probably not going to be a wild card team coming out of the division. Would be my guess if I was guessing.
Yeah, barring injuries across one of those divisions, you're right.
So isn't it more important to have them on that Thursday night than necessarily that Sunday game in which you're opening at home?
I think every game for this team is important, but yeah, you want to win your division game. That's the one you want to focus on. But you gotta, Bob, you gotta have the right mix of players, and you worry about it after a game, because you've done pretty much all camp exactly what you're saying. It's been low management. I don't want to bring them back too fast. And I'm not talking Barkley. I'm talking about all the other guys. Put them out there and let them play. They train for 17 games and let them play. I wouldn't worry about bubble wrapping guys like Golladay. When he's healthy and ready to go. You know,
Bob,
if you go ahead.
no, again, yeah, Bob. I think that Joe Judge is going to look at it like if they're good to go, they're playing Sunday.
And then we'll worry about Thursday.
Yeah, I get you. I get your point, Pop. I really do. Of course, it's the Redskins. Excuse me, the Washington football team.
Oh,
I know. I just committed. A violent. Yeah, I know. It's Washington. It's a division game. I get your thinking, Bob, but I do not Bleav Judge is going to be. I think it's going to be. Hey, if we're good, they're good to go. They're playing Sunday at 4:25. I'm not going to be looking ahead 4 days later to Washington.
Yeah, and the other thing they're not thinking about, but if you think about it from an organizational standpoint too, right, is it's been a rough decade, barring 2016.
Yeah, really.
You got to give your fans something to get excited about.
And
yep,
you
guys are right. If the medical staff and the players say I'm good to go, I guess you got to roll them out there that first game.
Yeah, unless you are subscribing to my other favorite topic, the Players Association of not working guys too much in games either. They never said that, but that'll be next on the agenda.
That might be next call.
Yeah, it could be next on the agenda because they're talking about you can't work out in the offseason, all this other stuff. But I say that tongue in cheek a bit, but football players play. They've worked all offseason. They're bought into Joe Judge's system. So it's be mentally ready. They'll take care of the body will take care of itself. A guy like, with the exception of Saquon, you gotta, see how he goes from 1 week to the next, but I'm sure they're not going to give him the ball 50 times in a game either.
How are they going to get hits for him? Remember Joe Judge said prior to the week of New England, he said, well, we got to ramp it up now. And we got to get him some hits before we're going to put him out in the game. Well, Carl, if this was, 1989, there'd be no issues with that.
Script the goal line, script 5 plays of 9-on-7.
Let it go.
Yeah.
So in today's NFL, how do you do that?
Like they did the other day, Pop. Like they did the other day in practice. They just hit him with the shoulder a little bit. That's today's NFL, Pop. That's the way he's getting hit leading up to the Denver game.
Well, that might be the way they hit anyway. Most of these players in the league don't hit you like that. They'll thud you up anyway. Most of these guys don't tackle. We'll see a lot of bad tackling early in the year, which is also a good thing for Saquon because if you got these teams that are not tackling well, he could hit the ground literally running. Denver's a very good football team, and
they're coached up over there.
They're coached up.
They're coached up over there,
and obviously Washington, really good defense. They're coached up well too. But we'll see. The other giant topic that all of a sudden popped up on my timeline yesterday was let's trade Evan Ingram when we can get something.
Oh my God. Could we stop at that, please? Could we please stop at that?
Who are you trading him for? Hey, the Vikings could use a tight end.
Wait, it's such
bring Dalvin back.
It's such a oxymoron because they'll say he's always heard we need to get rid of him. He's got no value. Let's get what we can. And then you say, okay, if you feel that way, do other teams? Why would you, Plus, I just think there's way too much talent to walk away from when you don't have to. He's in the last year of his contract, so you're basically playing with house money. It's, but he's just, I don't think fans quite understand whatever you've seen from Evan Ingram, however many plays it is, it's better than they've had here in a long time. Now, obviously, you want him on the field. The best ability is availability. I get it, but boy, he can make a difference. And you know
what he's got, guys? You know what he's got this year that he's never had, unfortunately for him? And I don't think it's too late. I don't think it's ever too late. But I think one of the things where I think they could have served him better since they drafted him he's never had a veteran presence in that tight end room.
Mm-hmm.
He's never had, that mentory type guy, a guy who could obviously still play, but who's been there and has the pelts on the wall. He finally has that guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
In Kyle Rudolph, who is, one of the great teammates, and guy hasn't dropped a pass in 3 years. So, maybe that's something that helps take Evan Ingram over the top too this year. Why would you get rid of him?
Hey, Pop, that's a great point, because what does Kyle really bring to the table? His red zone off, right? He's great in the red zone, Kyle. The little things that you could do in the red zone to make that play in the end zone, something Evans never had, right? Now Kyle comes into the room. They sit down and they look at film, and Kyle points out this and that and this and that to Evan, right? These little things that could maybe put him over the top. I'm not saying it's making him this all-world tight end and all that nonsense. I'm talking about maybe put him over the top and take him to that next step, where a guy like Kyle, who has like 41 red zone touchdowns in his career, could show Evan. Okay. And like you said,
or even on third down, even on 3rd and 4, third and 6.
The little things, Pop.
I remember Jason Witten eating the Giants up every year on 3rd and 6.
And you knew it was coming and you still couldn't stop him.
Right. Dropping him in those certain zones, sitting on those routes. I mean, the things that Kyle could teach him is invaluable, in my opinion, Carl and Bob. Okay. And like you said, that's an excellent point. This is the first time in his 5 years that he has a tight end like Kyle sitting next to him at every meeting on the practice field saying, hey, Evan, why did you do this? Hey, think about this on this route. Think about this with Daniel and all that. So it's invaluable, a guy like Rudolph, man. It really is. And,
he spent some time at the tight end U with a lot of other really good tight ends, the league's best. So I'm sure he's, and his confidence is through the roof right now. Throughout camp, he's looked
best
great.
Camp
He's
had.
confident.
Yep.
People, the other dumb statement people make about him, well, he can't block. Well, he's not an inline blocker. I mean, when you just look at him, he's a willing blocker, but he's not, it shouldn't be counted on to run a ride 37 power. He's just not that guy who's going to, knock your defensive end off the ball. He'll get in the way, but he's not your power blocker. So that's the other thing that people need to back off of, because that's just not the player he is.
Hey, Carl, look, we all know Evan could be maddening. Okay. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
How frustrating.
You point it out all the time.
I point it out all the time. We've talked about it off, right, on the side, me, you, and Pop. We've talked about the guy could be maddening. We know that, okay? But I've also put on Twitter and wrote an article about that this is going to be the year for Evan. I really feel that, and I've been destroyed over it on Twitter because, Chris, what are you on, drugs? I'm sick of this guy. Get rid of him. How can you say that? It's the same all and all. But I tell you what, guys. He was 100% healthy in this camp. Now I know he has the calf thing going on now and all that. I'm talking about during this camp. He was 100% healthy. He came in this camp the best shape of his life. I don't think there's any question about that. He actually admitted to it a little bit. He got into a little bit, not that he wasn't in good shape, but he even was in better shape in his camp. And I put it out on Twitter, and I'm going to keep saying it, guys. When Evan's healthy, hopefully this calf thing doesn't linger. Okay. I think he's going to have a very big year for the Giants. Now, I could be wrong. Next January, I could look like the biggest idiot. It's the same old stuff. This is the way I feel about him. I don't know how you guys are, but I think in year 5, this guy finally puts the whole package together.
He's an uber talent. People say, well, he cost us the Washington game. I mean, the Philadelphia game.
The Philly game.
And I had to point out, well, your quarterback cost you the Pittsburgh game. There are a lot of causes of games. He just happened to be the last one when the playoffs were on the line, but you win, your Pittsburgh game, or you make some other decision.
How about the quarterback in the Tampa game?
Yeah.
They're beating the Buccaneers, and he fumbles twice in the third quarter in plus territory.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's the punching bag for being the most recent situation, but there are so many things you can point out where as a team they hurt themselves, not just one drop pass that kept you out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, even that Philly game, Carl, you remember when the Eagles got the ball back, Ryan Lewis has no idea where the ball is. He can't locate the ball in that sideline pattern, gives up the big play. I mean, look, we're not going to sugarcoat it. Was Evans drop huge? That would have sealed the game. Yeah, we know that. But the point you're making, Carl, is what? Okay, it's the one play, we get it. But there's other factors into why they lost.
Yeah, it's the most recent.
Right, it's other factors of why they lost football games last season.
Yeah.
Like Pop just brings out Daniel coughing it up twice in a plus area. You can't do that and win games against a team.
Not against
like
Brady.
You can't do it against Tom. We know that. We can't do it against a quality team like Tam. Can't do it. You're not going to win football games coughing it up twice in the red area. So it's just so many other things. Like you said, Carl, Evan is a punching bag. I get it. I get it. But there's other things. Just be objective. I understand Evan to drop. But you know what? I remember specifically, Carl, we talked about it, that Ryan Lewis play right after that, where they hit down that right sideline, right? And we were like, Ryan, you got to locate the ball in the air, dude. You know,
he's not on the team anymore.
So no, I'm talking about last year's game, Pop, you know? And so the point being is that there's other factors too. It wasn't, so.
Anybody,
hey, Biz, go ahead, Carl.
No, anybody surprised at the BJ Hill move?
Carl, I got to be honest with you, brother. I know you. I didn't even have him on the 53, Carl. That was me, my opinion. I did not have him. Call me crazy, but I saw the way he snaps. And then last game was because he was getting traded. But I thought they were down on him, Carl. I thought they liked the Kid Johnson better. And I wasn't even sure he was even going to make that 53 call. Maybe I'm crazy. I'm just telling you the way I felt.
It's so funny you say you didn't even see him on the 53. That's kind of been the story or the arc of his career. He's whatever his contributions are, you really don't pay that much attention because he's always had, really good players. He's had Snacks and he's had, now he's got Leonard, Dalvin,
Leo.
And so, he was just kind of the guy who comes in, but I think he was expected to be a bigger part of the rotation. But, I don't know if he didn't stink. He didn't suck. But it was just like, what was his impact? And you just ask yourself, wow. And it was when I saw it, I'm like, I'm hearing more and more about Ray. And it should be Ray because it's Raymond Johnson III. So it should be 3 Rays instead of 2 Rays. But I guess they're high on him. They like Johnson because he, brings a little bit. They talk about his motor. He's got a high motor.
Well, here's where this is why this season is so important, because I think the BJ Hill scenario is a microcosm of why this season is important. Follow along with my dotted line, follow the dots here. Organizational stability. Remember, BJ Hill was drafted before this coaching staff was here. BJ Hill had 5.5 sacks as a rookie. Looked like he was a promising player.
Absolutely.
No knock on the previous regime, the current regime, but certain players fit into scheme, coach's eye, whatever. Role players. Not your studs. Your studs are your studs. Mm-hmm. And that's why this team has to be successful this year for stability. Because if they're not successful, there'll be some more changes. And you can't constantly draft guys that look like they're a good fit in one system, and then you're turning things over, and now you got another system in there, and then that player becomes expendable. He was a 3rd-round draft pick, right? That's a high pick.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's why the BJ Hill scenario, in my opinion, is an example of why they need to have a good season showing, arcing up. I don't know if it's a playoff. I don't know if it's 9-8. I don't know if it's 10-7 and they don't get in, but it's got to be showing this.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a second, let me get to the camera. This,
Mm-hmm.
because if it's going that way or more of the same, then suddenly now you're looking at 7-10 coming off 6 wins the year before. There's going to be changes.
Yeah.
And then you run into that whole scenario again of what are the changes, who's seeing players through what lens, and how do they fit to what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, were you surprised
So
by the
much.
Bob? Were you surprised by the BJ Hill trade?
No, because I think we in our production meetings with Joe Judge, they were very high on Johnson, and it's and they had to make a move because the old line stinks. I mean, they've been rolling out the same dudes in camp every year in practice squad, hoping that they're going to improve and be at least quality backups and spot starters, and they're no good. I think the Zach Fulton and Joe Looney retirements might have been one of the biggest things, one of the worst case scenarios for them this summer.
That threw a huge monkey wrench in their plans. There's no question about it. That threw a huge monkey wrench in their plans.
Hey, Biz, before we wrap up here with you, first tell people where they can follow you, all your social media, and how you do your Big Pen thing. Okay, and then tell us how you went from wearing a Mark Bavaro jersey to now being a Giant insider.
Well, first off, you can follow on Twitter at Giant Insider for all the tweets and all that good stuff. And from a Mark Bavaro thing, it just was freelance writing. Look, Bob, Carl, always been a football addict, always studied the game as best as I could. Obviously, not through the eyes of a guy like Banks and you, Bob, and all that, but I always studied the game, always was a student of the game, and started freelance writing years ago. And the editor, Jerry Foley of the Giant Insider, liked some of the stuff I sent in, liked, I guess, the knowledge and all that goes with it, and asked me years ago to start if I wanted to be interested in being the beat writer for the magazine, for the newspaper. And obviously I said yes, and the rest is history, Pop. That's where we're at right now. And, obviously, like you said, Pop, to have like a Mark Bavaro type guy, Italian guy, I got to wear a Bavaro jersey back in the day, Pop. You understand where I'm coming from with that.
I understand.
And then next thing you know, interviewing the guy and actually, communicating with him on the side now, with Texas, and talking about, it's been quite a turnaround in my life, my man, for the last 6 years. So that's where I'm at right now. But now here I am talking to Bob Papa. And of course, the legendary, in my opinion, Pop, you see me on Twitter all the time, and, got a little ball movement on Banks last year. He didn't make the 25. And in my opinion, 58 should be in the Hall of Fame. And I'll say it to the day I die, Bob. The reason why Mr. Banks is not in Canton is because, of Lawrence, opposite of him and all that. I still, to this day, I don't know about you, Bob, but I feel that the writers didn't want to put Carson, Lawrence, of course, and Carl in.
You know what? I can say this for a fact. Aside from your Hall of Fame theory, that 100% factored in with Pro Bowls every year. And I've been told that. I've been told that. And then they would turn around and put 3 guys in from New Orleans, but they would say, we didn't want to put 3 guys from New York in the Pro Bowl.
Well, all I know is this. Carl is a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame All 80s team.
Yep.
So I think, Carl, I know you don't have to comment on this, but, Drew Pearson was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think it was the All 70s team. And it took him a long time, but eventually Drew got in. I think Carl eventually will get in, because sometimes you need some of the older guys to look at it through a little bit clearer lens than it gets looked at. All right, Biz, we appreciate a couple minutes, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Bleav in Giants podcast.
Gentlemen, it's been a blast. Thank you very much.
This was fun.